What's up? What's up? What's up? And what it do? What it do? What it do? Welcome to Random Thoughts with DVP. I'm your host, DVP. Today is the 30th of August, 2023. And out of all the places in the world you could be, you chose to be here. And I appreciate that. We're gonna have a good show today. Y'all been bothering me and harassing the shit out of me about these politics. So I got some people who understand politics a whole lot better than me, and they can explain some things to you. Now, so we're gonna get into that. But what I want to say in my monologue is, for the most part, I truly do appreciate most of y'all and y'all enthusiasm, even when you dead ass wrong how y'all stand behind it. But what I don't appreciate is how ignorant we are when it comes to factual data. When somebody shows you something different, how you feel is not as important as whether or not they gave you some factual information. And at some point, you should be able to accept this and move forward with your life. You still don't have to like it, but you have to acknowledge factual data. And, I was having a conversation with somebody, and, I was just saying some shit. And I said, well, we'll have to conversate later. See, like the blue gasket. As smart as you is, I can't believe you making up words. Hold on. First of all, conversate is a word. No, it ain't. It's been a word since Obama was president. I don't use it. Okay, because you don't use it, what does that mean? I don't typically use the N word. I still acknowledge the fact that it exists. I even know what it means. Not what y'all say, but anyway. But how you going to argue, and I show it to you where it's in the dictionary, when it was created, and it should have always been a word. Because if you're having a conversation, which is an action, it has to come from something else. You know what I'm saying? Magician, magic, illumination, illuminate. It's got to come from a base word. So if you're going to be smart, big I, big F, then some of this should make sense. And in this age of information, as we said over and over again, ignorance is a choice, because all you got to do is look it up and see if it's a word. In theory, ladies and gentlemen, selfie ain't always been a word. Selfie came out, I want to say 6-7 years ago. Selfie wasn't a word. People start using it. People start using it because that's what y'all do. And my biggest pet peeve of all time with us misusing words, as my producer say, people use it out of context, is when you do something that people think you wrong or something, and as it relates to bad black people. People want to call people Uncle Tom. That really agitates me, because one, it showed you didn't read the book, and if you read the book, your level of understanding is somewhere between 0 and infinitely stupid, because Uncle Tom was the good one. Uncle Tom was the one who tried to keep blacks out of trouble. Sambo was the one who kept running, telling Massa everything. So if you're going to be degrading to a black person, call them Sambo, not Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom is a good thing. Uncle Tom is a good thing. Read the book. It ain't that hard. Read the Cliff Notes. It ain't that hard. Even if you research Google, it'll tell you this. In my last one, and this is crazy because you're supposed to learn something every week, it's AD, like BC and the year and stuff. For years, people have been told that BC was before Christ and AD was after death. And don't get it twisted, I ain't into religion, nothing, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But somebody asked the question. According to you biblical people, no shame, Jesus lived for like 33 years. So if you got before Christ and after death, what are those 33 years that he lived fall in? Most people couldn't answer this question. So I looked up AD. AD means Anna Domini, which actually means after birth. So you got before Christ and after his birth. So AD does not mean after death, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to share that with y'all. So if you don't come up with nothing else out of today's show, nothing else, you now know what AD means. Anna Domini. All right, y'all got it? So I don't know. I can't see anything yet. I ain't sure if Philip is here yet, but we're gonna go ahead and take this first break, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna get into this whole politics thing, some of the questions that you guys been shooting at me, because I got some people who got answers. I want to give a quick shout out to Khadija, who had to take care of something because she was supposed to be here. She does things in politics because I wanted to have a well-rounded board, but she may come in late. But we're going to take a break and then we'll be back. Get out some adult beverages. Maybe we'll take a break. Mel.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden & Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden & Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
What's up? So we back. Gonna bring my mentor and troublemaker extraordinaire Joe onto the show so I can give him his proper introduction. Mr. Joe here sound like the cab driver from the grocery store back in the day, don't it? What happened to your background, Joe? You don't work for the Federation no more? Oh, see, he let me down.
No, you talked me out of it, man.
Man, I had my Star Trek intro. Anyway, Joe is my dude. Joe is another guy who I never met, but we met on Facebook. We battled, we agreed, we battled, we agreed, we battled, we agreed. He came to Georgia, he avoided me just to keep stopping by me a ginger ale. But that's a whole other story. The brother's a wealth of knowledge. We got a lot of similarities. We both like me. We both think something is wrong with him. But he knows a lot. He just shared something with me before we came back. And it's crazy. Again, He says there was a community of runaway slaves in Canada that was founded by the character that Uncle Tom was based on. See, it's always good to know people who can expand your horizons and let you know more than you knew 15, 20 minutes ago. So Joe is going to be here. I'm expecting Philip to show up. Like I said, Khadija had a emergency she had to take care of. But if not, Joe know enough to keep the conversation going.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. There he go.
I've been here the whole time.
Oh, I ain't see you. He probably just paid his phone bill right quick. So, hey, I ain't got nothing. Hey, and Philip is my dude. We met on Facebook. He was on the show back when I was doing in-studio shows, and then he been avoiding me for like 2-3 years. I think he lent me some money, but he didn't. So I finally, I let him know his debt was clear, so he agreed to come on the show. But between these two brothers, they know a lot about politics. And I know more than I used to, but I'm still not at that comfort level. So I figure between these two, like I had Khadija, and Mel may chip in too, we can have the conversation because I've been asked a lot of questions and some things I just don't know. So I wanted to get people on here who, when we disagree, it's intelligent debate. They can tell you why certain things are, and both of them know the difference between how they feel versus what is what. They know I like this, I don't like this. Even though this happened, I still don't have to like it. And y'all know I love intelligent brothers. Ain't nothing like an intelligent brother. So when we can sit down and have conversations, that's what we do. And Joe is like old as dirt. Philip still, Philip's. I think Philip, are you old enough to you old enough to drink liquor by yourself now, or you still need a parent with you to drink?
I'll take it.
Philip like 20. Philip 20. He might be 31. some shit like that. Anyway, some I don't remember. But these are my two guys right now. You can ask anything. Like I said, I already gave them some of the questions so we can start using in the context. But gentlemen, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Anything I left out right quick.
You want to go?
No, Joe, you the senior statesman, so you go first.
Okay, well, my name is Joe Mosley. I am a retired police officer, sergeant, homicide detective. I've held the title of commander in a couple of positions. I've held the title of chief of police. Co-authored a couple of books, manuals, and I put some people away. I've never been overturned for prosecutorial or police misconduct, and I've also been in a couple of shootings. So there's that. I'm good.
Philip, my troublemaker extraordinaire.
So let me go ahead and level set for a second. I'm not an expert in politics, but I do have a background in politics. I worked in politics in some regard for really the majority of my adult life. I started out as a student activist in college and started a nonprofit organization that dealt with a range of issues, societal issues, and then kind of parlayed that into a career in government and social justice. So I've been doing it for quite some time. I've been a policy analyst. I've been a chief of staff. I've been a manager of development for a couple of social justice organizations, one Atlanta-based that's national, one that is based out of state, and a couple others. I consider myself to be a Kingian liberal. I identify a lot with Dr. King's politics and his stances on economics and social issues for the most part. So I'm glad to be here. Glad to finally be in the mix. And hey, let's get going.
All right. So we're just gonna go ahead. What's going on, Antonio? We're just gonna go ahead and start. And gentlemen, I'm gonna make some statements because I'm gonna truly be the host. I'm gonna let y'all tell me where I'm wrong and what needs to be said. I'm gonna be the regular person. So as it stands right now, the three leading candidates, and I mean three, and right now there are three parties who have a viable candidate in it right now, and there's probably a couple of more, but I don't count just anybody who's running. Like when Kanye West ran, to me, he was never legit. So for my mind, and my money, right now we got Biden, Trump, and Cornel West. Did I leave anybody out who may be a viable candidate? First of all, guys. And if I didn't, say it again.
DeSantis.
You think he's a viable candidate?
He's. I mean, I don't know how far anybody in the GOP is going to get because Trump is there. But I mean, he has name recognition.
I would have to caution you both, and that's the thing about in politics. You have to be careful because there's this thing called peaking, and what's happening is DeSantis peaked before he should have. We can also go back to a couple of previous elections, and you'll see the problem of peaking before your time and what it results in. So in terms of viable candidates, I will tell you until these primaries are run, they're all viable. Because remember this, the fact remains that in the beginning of the last election cycle, Trumpian, statistically, Hillary was supposed to win.
That's facts. And Biden too, to be clear.
Well, I don't want to mix candidates right now. I just want to do parties first.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. From the Democratic Party and the third party.
I don't think in this process that West is a viable candidate. I think West would have done better had he run on a Democratic ticket and run on a progressive independent as opposed to being just straight green. I don't think they will pull enough votes to. They'll be considered the spoiler. And that, I mean, I can show you how that's done, but they'll be considered the spoiler because they're going to pull. I mean, the from what we can see, and based on past experiences, the Green Party has always pulled primarily 1 or 2%, but that 1 or 2% can be, awful big depending upon where you are.
Okay. Oh, if all right. So, who? Because, like I say, I don't want to get into Republican versus Democrat versus Independent because I know at one point Obama was losing, but that was against a Republican. So that's what I'm saying. I just want to stick with each individual party when I'm talking when I'm speaking about viable candidates because I want to go into. I don't want to have to talk about each and every candidate. So I just want to talk about right now who would be the vote getter as we get into if we're being honest, what is the good they bring to the office, the bad they bring to the office, and they're not so sure. And that's why I say I want to just do one person from each party, so we don't have to discuss 624 candidats. Because I don't consider Robert Kennedy a candidate. I mean, he's just there, and even his family said he's kind of a lunatic.
Kinda.
He's lunatic.
Oh,
he has every right to be though, right?
Well, look, I don't know if anyone has a right to be loony per se, but I'll address that at another point. But I will say this: that I think, based on what I've seen coming out of the Biden White House, the Democrats are going to turn it over to Republicans. There's no question in my mind. The Democrats are going to get thumped in the next election. The question is who's going to thump them. And I'll tell you that the policies. You asked me something earlier. What is the difference between liberal versus conservative? And I will tell you this.
We don't want to go there yet.
Okay, but I will say this that I'll let you go ahead because it leads into some other issues.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I don't want us to be bouncing all over as people are trying to learn and they want to understand what it is and who it is. So if we just stick with Biden, Trump, and West, what good have any of them done to date? And all we talking about is what good they've done right now, not the negative.
I could go. Can I go?
Yeah.
Okay. So with Biden, I think what he did was he stopped the bleeding, because the way that the country was going at the time, we were in a powder keg scenario, and we saw that on January 6th. So I think he stopped the bleeding. He was always a holdover. He's like that. He's a rebound. It's like the woman you get with right after you've been in a long-term relationship. Trump did everything to demystify the idea of white superiority. He did more for race relations than any president in the history of this country, because he let me know that white men are nowhere near who they believe they are in their imagination. And there's nothing about his life or his intellect that should suggest to any person of color that you can't be president someday. So I think he did more to undo the idea of white superiority than any president in the history of this country.
I would disagree with that. I would totally disagree with that. I think you've got to reverse. I think he did more to. There's two ways to look at that, and I mean, we have to look at it and break it down in a psychological profile. And here's what I mean. If nothing else, he showed that white privilege still does exist. He did also show, yes, Ms. Lane, I will. He did also show that racism exists. The problem is, are people understanding the issues that are coming out? They're, believe it or not, I mean, he ripped the Band-Aid. I will give you this. He ripped the Band-Aid off of what a little race relationship we had, but he didn't do anything good. I mean,
no, it wasn't good.
Yeah. I think we anything differently. And I'll say this to you, but two of the things I agree with him, that's hard for me to say. He gave our military the first raise it had under any president. People don't know that, but it's true. He did do that. He talked about the migrants, and that's a big problem. Here in Chicago or in Illinois, there's a bill that has moved forward that allows migrants to become police officers. Now, let me get this right. You cross the border illegally, but now you can be hired. You can jump to the front of the line and be hired based on the mere fact that you are an illegal alien. And now you can enforce laws against people who have been trying to get this job. I find an abomination. And that's what's going to force people from the Democratic side to whatever else may be there. And as you know, and all of us know in this group, that there are hardcore Democrats, hardcore Republicans that will never, ever, for whatever reason, you could give them all the facts and figures, as we well know, you can give them the facts and figures till you turn blue, and they're still going to vote that particular way. But here's the problem. If I got 2 people that vote versus 100 people that don't vote, who counts? The 2 that vote. And that's the best elimination I've got of that.
Okay, so what Phil, you said one of the good things that, that's how come I didn't know, because it said Phil chasing Huxtable. One of the good things that Biden did was stop the bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I've heard people say is that Biden didn't hurt us.
He didn't.
So those are right now, those are his 2 best attributes. Well, I'm gonna say best. Those are 2 of his good attributes.
And on top of that, and let me just lead with this. I despise Biden. I think I didn't want him in office. I think he's a very typical baby boomer white male. But so let me just lead with that. He actually has completed most of his items on his Black agenda. That's how low the bar was for us to put our support behind him. So technically, Biden has done what he was supposed to do and has fulfilled most of his obligation to Black America. But because based on his agenda, based on what he said he was going to do, but because the bar was so low, and for me, I'm a one issue candidate, voter right now.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about your issue,
right? But for me, I think that Biden was he served a purpose, and just by virtue of his age and his health, I don't see where he can have any more benefit to the country going forward. We're talking about at this point, but wasn't Reagan had Alzheimer's as he was in his second term, right? Yeah. And he was the oldest president at the time, if my history
correct.
Right. So now we're talking, a very, very old man, and not old for like, he's still kind of young, but I mean old to be having There's no other job in the world that a 70-plus-year-old man can get earning $400,000 a year, making decisions about who gets what, when, and how. And so in that context, he's an old man making decisions about people that are in my age group who are the most populous in the country. So there's definitely, he serves me no more just being sort of a B team politician that kind of subbed while we were trying to get this Trump stuff worked out.
Okay.
Wait, I got to ask one question though. What did Biden do for black folks again? I missed your point. I don't see anything.
Well, hold on, Joe. He said there was a low bar.
Yeah, it was a low bar.
Yeah, he said there was.
Hold on, bro.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
So let me. Okay. So, and this is where it gets a little touchy, right? So Biden appointed
Green.
I'm sorry.
He appointed quite a few. I was just calling out some names for you.
Biden appointed a majority female and black female comms team. He has thrown his support behind a certain kind of black woman, and that has bode well for him getting the kind of support that he's gotten from not just the black community as a whole, but from a particular faction in our community. Even him throwing his support behind the first black female Supreme Court justice. Now, and she was the most qualified in history, probably next to Taft. So I'm not diminishing anything that diminishing her accomplishments, but his symbolic commitment to black folk has been fulfilled. He gave us a Juneteenth holiday. Like, these are not things. That's why I said the bar is so low that he technically did what he said he was going to do. But it's so far from what needs to be done that from where I stand, I don't care. I don't like it. It won't do anything to make me just this Bidenite and to say, you know, Biden or bust, blow. No, what's the slogan? Vote blue, no matter who. That's not. No, I'm not with any of that, and I'm not afraid of Trump. So then there's that.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Joe?
I there's so much to unpack from that. I agree with a lot of it. I will push back on some of it. The bar being low is a true story. There's no question. But then the next question becomes, as someone said earlier, you know, both of them are garbage. Okay, I give them that. And another one said, you know, so we got to vote for the lesser two evils. Unfortunately, because we have not put our agenda forward and voted in a block, as some other people do. See, now about Trump, and I will. The fact is that he represents his brand, whatever that may be. He represents it and represents it well, from racist to misogynist to whatever. But he represents it. The problem that we have in this country, historically, we as a people have got that John Wayne, Ronnie Reagan. We want the big, tall white guy that, you know, comes in the door blazing, blam, blam, blam. He unfortunately kills all the Indians. You know, if you read history, the Indians weren't the bad guy in the first place, but be that as it may. But that's what Americans like. If you look at what happened when when Carter lost, the reason that the Iranians turned over the prisoners so quickly is because they saw Ronnie Reagan. They saw him as this, you know, that whole ideology of this great American hero. Far from the fact. You know, it's like John Wayne never served in the military, but he acted in more military moves than anybody. And that when you hear people, oh, I love John Wayne. John Wayne was one of the biggest racists around. But so we, the people, Blacks, have to put our agenda and set the bar higher. When we talk about the Supreme Court justice, I do have a problem about you comparing the young lady to Taft. Taft was horrible. I think a better one would have been
qualified.
Okay.
Yeah. President, Supreme Court.
I would compare to Thurgood, in my opinion, because if you read some of his decisions, his arguments in front of the Supreme Court, not only did he clerk, he argued. So we agree on that.
All right.
Go ahead.
So,
I'll just say this: we've got to bring the bar higher. From the Juneteenth celebration, what a crock. I mean, so now you give another. We're in a failing economy where we need to add days to work. So now you mess with the economy. But again, those are another issues. And I'll just say this: a lot of the stuff that we're blaming on the president is not at his level. And again, that's because we don't teach civics in our schools anymore. And I'll step back from that.
Okay, and I'm gonna doubly agree with that because I think that's how come a lot of times we're disappointed with politicians because we don't know what they do, and we all have a perception of our own personal issues, and some of them are not at the DC level. So we're gonna take a quick break, but I want y'all to marinate on this because Amy asked a question, and this is what we're gonna come back with. We're gonna get back into our agenda. How would you gentlemen feel about a woman president? First question. Second, we're gonna answer this after the break. And second question: who would be your leading who would be your leading candidate if we were to go to a woman president? So we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna give you gentlemen a couple minutes to think about that, and we're gonna come back and get that question answered.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
All right, we back. And let me just say this. So we trying something different. We got a call-in number for any of y'all that have questions, because I know we're moving a little fast, and sometimes y'all questions come up after the comments. So because of Joe Mosley told me I need to have a phone for y'all to call in, but StreamYard don't take phone calls. So we got a call-in number, which is 678-827-6611 if you want to call in and ask a question. But we're going to get back to Amy's question. Gentlemen, how do y'all feel about a woman president?
I don't have a problem with it.
I support it. I voted for a woman president when Hillary was running. Just wasn't Hillary.
So right now, is there any woman that could get you that could sway you over to their side right now as we speak?
Let me be the first. Let me just say this. I got to go with what Ms. Hawk says, Antoinette Hawk. Camilla is not getting my vote on nothing. Nothing. Absolutely. Nope. So yes, I would definitely get behind one.
I'm gonna go old school, kinda. I'm gonna go Cynthia McKinney. I know she.
Yeah, you're going real old school.
Her star has descended over the years, but listen, she was right about 9/11.
She was right about Bush.
Right, she was right about Bush.
And she got censored for it.
Right, she got a lot of moxie.
She called a spade a spade.
Yeah,
I have to co-sign. I know who she was. I would
throw my support behind her for real. If she decided to come out of,
What about you? What about you, Joe?
I'm just reading some of the comments.
Well, why are you thinking about it, Amy?
Michelle Obama is a great candidate. I don't think that. I don't know why people want to put her.
And as I said in the comments, I think Michelle is symbolism. I don't know why we keep saying Michelle or Oprah. Neither one of them have any interest in politics. So if we're gonna get somebody, we kind of need to have a good reason, and they need to want to be it. I don't see. Michelle said how much she hated when Obama was doing it, so I can't see her following that path. So, and this is where, if we're being honest, we can't just pick a candidate. I think this is where we get caught up because of who we like. And me and Philip had this conversation. One time. I don't like Joe Biden. I hate Trump. This right now, in my world, will be the worst election ever if everything stood as it is right now. Everybody who's running is not a good candidate. As a matter of fact, everybody who's running right now and is at the head of their respective group, to me, is a suck-ass candidate right now. So the next 4 years, as it stands right now, we're just gonna be stuck with shit. Your shit either gonna have salt, ketchup, or mustard, but it's gonna be shit. And those right now, those are our only options. I was kind of on the fence with Hillary. I can't say I'm a big Hillary fan, but when we talk about it, and this is one of the things when I talk about racism and us, we vote for certain candidates, and this is why I'm gonna let Joe and Phil both say something. We think we want them to do too much for Black people, and I've said this before. The reason why Black people can't get a lot done for them is we don't have a true agenda. If you look at the LGBTQ RSVW, they take up one agenda at a time, which is why they get it passed. Black people got 200 things they want, and they won't prioritize them. So when you get one group saying this and another group saying this, they fighting against each other, which is what we commonly do. So it's hard to please any of us because we don't have Phil got what he want, Joe got what he want, I got what I want. We can't work together and let one get accomplished at a time because I want mine to be first. Phil want his to be first, and I think that's probably been the biggest problem as I sit on the outside looking at the Black agenda, is that there is no cohesiveness. Because
let me get him first.
Go ahead.
Let me say this. You know some of my background, and I'll just say this: that
starting with Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah, Star Trek Enterprise. But the reality is, everything you talked about goes back to one key piece. Every one of these other groups are organized. Listen to me very well. When's the last time you saw an all-out attack on Israel? You don't, because you know what? They stick together. When's the last time? If you looked at this Asian hate crime bill, got passed in 30 days. We've been trying to get the anti-lynching bill since 1864. They organize, plain and simple. If we, even as Ms. Hawk says, 200 people, 200 things we need, ain't no question. Listen, In 80, the president said that we must give Japanese reparations for the way they were treated. Pardon my language, it flew. I was about to throw an F-bomb in, but I didn't. But it flew. The internment of the Japanese Americans, 4 or 5 years. The Holocaust, at best 10 years. Slavery. There's no other group in this country that has done as much and got nothing for it but us. It's a matter of organizing. It's a matter of prioritizing, but more importantly, organizing. So
I would push back on that a little bit because I've been a part of the organizing efforts. So I know, I think to Melody's point about it being about the red tape and the real barriers that are in front of us legislatively, we can just start there, that disrupt a lot of the ability to not just organize, but to mobilize in a real way. And the groups that we've mentioned, one of the key factors in all of that is, if you treat Jews wrong, they can go back to Israel. If you treat Asians wrong, they can go back to Japan, Korea, China, Vietnam, whatever. Even if you treat African immigrants wrong, they can go back to Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, South Africa. They can go back. If you treat black folks wrong, where are we gonna go? To Alabama, to Georgia,
Lower Alabama,
Florida?
yeah. Right.
So then the other piece of that is, a lot of those countries are G8 countries. So not a lot of those countries, but the groups who we kind of see as making more progress than we have, Japan is a G8 country. So there is a real consequence to not supporting Japanese Americans in America, or for America rather, that does not exist for us. We also don't have a paramilitary element to our community. I think, as much as I love Dr. King, truly, the worst thing that we could have done was not included the Deacons for Defense in our entire strategy. Unlike the Nation of Islam, who everybody knows, if you breathe a negative word about Farrakhan, somebody might come see about you. But we are always a sitting duck, and we have to depend on the benevolence of white people, the allyship of people of color. I hate that term. Of people of color. And at the end of the day, the power structure knows that we don't have there's no real threat. Yeah, we might go throw a Molotov cocktail through a glass window. Probably not doing that though, by the way. But beyond that, there is no real consequence in place for us not having those 200 needs met. So it's like, as long as we have to depend purely on the benevolence of white America and on the fake allyship of other people of color, we're not going to see the kind of advancement that we are looking for.
And that's my point. I don't think we'll do it because we won't. And you know, everybody wants to be the leader, but everybody who wants to be the leader, we're not really getting behind them, because they don't. I mean, when Ice Cube came out with his thing, and I read some of it was okay. Some of it I thought was just crazy shit. And that's why I say, you know, when people talk about it, it's like, if your top three ain't my top three, then we can't negotiate nothing. And I think that's where our biggest fail system is, because everybody wants something, and some of the things they want, as you alluded to earlier, ain't even at the DC level. They're at the Georgia level, or they're at the Illinois, they're at the state or the local level. And we don't understand this. You know, I heard people talking about with Obama. The funny thing I heard is, I'll never vote for him again because he didn't lower child support payments. And I was like, you got to be shitting me. And he's like, no, he the president. He could have. I was like, you really believe the president care about child support?
If anything, Trump cares about child support.
And, I mean,
he takes care of his own kids. I mean,
right.
So.
But, and this was like a 30-minute diatribe. He went on about why he would never vote for him again because of child support. And I was like, okay, if I give you that and say he didn't do nothing about it, because I'm going to give you that argument, because he didn't do nothing about child support. Which president did? So if he didn't do nothing other than, how does he lose your vote, but you willing to vote for somebody else? And that was always my thing. Because Phil Job respects y'all immensely. But has there been any president, any mayor, any governor who did everything that you wanted them to do?
No.
And it's gonna be that. Hell, we got girlfriends, wives, and kids who don't do everything we want them to do. So why in the hell we think a politician who don't know us is gonna do it? And this is why I think sometimes we get so caught up in craziness. I'm not a fan of Trump. But like me and Joe was talking, when people say stuff and it's like, oh, you hate him. Well, first of all, I don't hate him. I don't give him that much credit. But if I'm being honest, he has done some good things, just not enough for me to consider him real.
Right.
Yeah, he did a lot for the VA. I think he brought even more attention to colorism than Obama did, because he in my mind made white supremacists feel like it was okay to not hide. Obama did it too, but under Trump, they exploded.
Right.
When Trump made his dumb statement about Juneteenth, looking from where I'm looking as somebody who does security, Juneteenth events, the attendance went up when he started making like it was something crazy. And so he in my mind, he provided more awareness. He made more of us be politically savvy. When Obama won, we didn't get into politics. Most of us voted for Obama strictly because he was black. Most of us didn't have a clue what he was running for or anything else. We didn't learn a lot about politics in my opinion, under Trump. More of us have started to get into politics so we'll know what we're looking at so we won't keep making the same mistakes. I will give him that. But I can't say, I had 6 conversations about gas after I said I was going to do this show. I'm so tired of talking about gas and the president.
Yeah, the president will control that.
Man, you can't tell these people nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if you believe that, then that will make Obama the greatest president ever, because when he took over, gas prices was higher than they were now. I remember because I had an Escalade, and I remember how much it cost to fill it up. I say, but Phil, Joe, y'all two correct me. Typically speaking, the president's first 2 years financial or a byproduct of the last president's economy. Is that a correct assumption?
That's safe.
Okay,
at least
so
the first 2 years.
And if we say that Trump had a great first 2 years because of Obama's economy, and I hear people say, oh, we did great on Trump. I'm like, how? COVID hit. So who did great under COVID? I'm trying to figure out how y'all did so great when jobs were being cut, people were being laid off. I'm confused because the first 2 years they were Obama's. I ain't saying Obama did a great job, but he did rescue us from a recession. That's factual. That can't be argued on no level.
Oh yeah,
so it's like that we weren't in a recession.
Oh no, I'm just saying they do argue that. And
okay. So it's like if we deal with factual data, he did get us out of that recession. How you feel about him giving car makers money? That's a whole different story. But the fact is, there was a recession that he got us out of, and the recession came across because Cynthia McKinney was pushing back against Bush, saying the whole war was fake, and they told Cynthia McKinney to shut up. We're gonna fire you because we don't want you telling people. I don't know how you got this information, but it was super duper top secret. But somebody told Cynthia McKinney. They gave her the scoop and she told everything. And this is where we give people too much credit because we don't do research, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, I reach out to Phil, I reach out to Joe, because they can educate me on things. Because sometimes I'm just like y'all. I used to depend on mainstream media to tell me everything until I start reading stuff, until I start looking at stuff, until I start doing more investigation. And I'm giving credit to presidents for something that a local leader did. I'm giving stuff to presidents that they had nothing to do with. And this is what we got to stop doing, good, bad, or indifferent. And this is why when people kept asking me about the show, I said I want to do this. Before we get too far, I want to discuss, because this is probably the second hottest topic. Why do we vote? Understand the question, gentlemen. If our vote does not count because the Electoral College picks the president, what is the popular vote for? Either one.
Okay. So why do we vote for in presidential elections? Is that what you?
If the Electoral College picks the president, why do we vote?
I think so. I'll tell you why I think we should vote for in the presidential election. Because it's the biggest. It is the most publicized, election. We won't know about the tax assessor we won't see a debate between, who's running for, I don't know, dog catcher, for just be cliche. But we will always know who's running for president, right? So it exercises that muscle to be engaged in politics and on some level. As far as it being as consequential as your local politics, if you're going to skip any election, you should skip the presidential election. And I just know this from working in local politics. Your council can make a decision at 6:51. 6:51 today that can affect your life at 6:51 tomorrow. Your president or Congress can make decisions that can have a kind of trickle down effect on you maybe over the next 10 years. So I do understand people's cynicism towards voting for the presidential election, but because of the way we kind of look at the presidential election, if you're not voting for if you decide I'm not going to vote for in the presidential election, chances are you're deciding to disengage from the process altogether, and that's when it becomes counterproductive for what we're trying to do. Because honestly, you should be heavy local and light national. That's how your voting knowledge should be. You should know more about your council person than you know about your governor, and then you should know more about your governor than you know about the president. That's how it should really run.
Okay, and I think you went too far right. The electoral college versus why we vote. If the electoral college decides, why even vote? I think is the question.
Well, so that I understand why people say I'm not voting because I'm not voting in the presidential election because of the electoral college.
Okay.
It's first of all, it's steeped in racism. Just the whole thing was set up because of black bodies. So the Democrats should have done away with it altogether. But I would not let my knowledge of that and my cynicism toward that keep me from voting. Yes, you should vote. I mean, you should absolutely get in the habit of voting. And I'm not going to give anybody the whole like our ancestors died. No, vote because it's consequential. Vote because it don't take that long to do it. Like vote.
So let me throw into that why you should vote because of the electoral college. Again, you have to do some reading in the Constitution, understand how the structure was made. The popular vote leads to the electoral colleges, which is based on popular vote. So if you don't vote, you skew that. So those votes are based on the amount of votes, popular votes cast. That's the quick and dirty way to put it. More importantly, the other part of that is that it's based in this idea. Remember that the Constitution was initially written for white male landowners. They then spread it to other people. White women got the vote in the early 1900s. We got it in 64. But again, you vote because your popular vote is relative to the number of electoral college votes that gets given over at any given time.
And this is why we have to vote. The system, if it works the way it was supposed to, the electoral college is based off what we vote on. It's supposed to, and this is why anybody who says anything to me about the former president, I fight against. As a former soldier, my number one thing that we swore to, all soldiers swore to, we got the same thing. We swear to defend the Constitution above any person, any person. And there's no way you can defend the Constitution and support anything that he's done that was against the Constitution. And the argument came up with, and it was with one of my Trumplicans, because I used to think he was just a Republican, but he showed his true colors when he said he didn't understand. And I was like, you always talk about this electoral college, but if you listen to the tape and you hear Donald's voice, he said find him some votes. So if the electoral college decides everything, why does he need these 12,000 votes from Georgia? So this proves, ladies and gentlemen, that your vote is important. You heard it from the most controversial man in the history of the U.S. right now. Without that, he would have just, which is why he still tried to get his electoral people in. He got his fake electorals, because don't get it twisted, they do count. But you have to understand how the electoral college works when it works at its best. And as his people said, this was the most secure election ever, which is why he couldn't even get his fake electorates in. So the Electoral College is supposed to be representative of what we do. So
But the
if you don't vote, you screw the whole system. What are you gonna say, Joe?
No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Amy wants to know if either one of you guys run for president. She said, Phil, you probably ain't old enough.
I'll be 41 in 6 weeks.
I need to see your birth certificate, brother. I need to see your birth certificate.
Not even gonna comment.
No, ain't no way in the world. First of all, I've worked too closely with politicians. I've seen what it can do to you on the local level. It never changes anybody for the good. I haven't seen one person come out better. And I'm not gonna be I wouldn't overinflate my idea of who I think I am morally to think that it wouldn't change me too. You're still going through that same grinder. So no.
Let me I don't disagree. I don't agree with that. But I will tell you this. In my ventures into state, local, and national politics, yeah, it does. You haven't seen a president that went into office with black hair that didn't come out with gray hair. I mean, but again,
so I should run in because I ain't got my hair can't turn colors. I should run.
You might grow hair, so you might have a reverse. but much to the point that considering the amount of information that people will get and what they have to deal with on a regular basis, with the one thing that has to be in your mind, people out there trying to kill you. I mean, just for doing your damn job.
Yeah.
I have met some of the presidents. Trust me when I tell you that. I have. And some of the conversations are frightening. I won't get into them here because this ain't the place. But the amount of information, the amount of detail they have to be involved in, it really, more than one man can actually handle. I mean, I'm surprised at a few of them. But let me digress a little bit. You also see how that massive amount of information, when used correctly, will move you from that extreme position, whether you're right or left. And most of your great presidents become centrists.
Right.
I mean, that's proven. I'll leave it at that.
Don't get chicken on me now.
Never that, brother. Never.
I know. So I truly believe, we talk a lot about heritage, we talk a lot about our ancestors, we talk a lot about this and this and this. I truly believe that throwing the Constitution aside, you are remiss, especially if you are Black, to not vote for all the things that our ancestors did and gave vote for us to get to this point. To not vote for whatever reason. And I wanted to play a little of the Battle of the Bullet thing, but I don't want to get into that. I believe we have an obligation, and I have voted, and I try to vote smart, because there are times when in some of these elections, not just the presidential elections, in my world, all the candidates were shit. All of them were shit. But my mama said something to me very important. She said, if you don't vote, you don't get the right to complain. And I took that to heart. I will vote, because if you don't, then you're saying that you accept whatever you get. You can't say, well, I voted for the other person. I did this. You didn't do shit. So you got to sit back, STFU, have a frosty mug of it, and just accept whatever you get, because you chose to be quiet. And what's the old saying? If you're not part of the problem, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And that's what, in my mind, that's what we have to look at it. So you gotta figure out what's important to you, and then put that on the back page and look at what the candidates are running for. Because what's important, you don't mean nothing to nobody but you. At some point, you got to look at what the candidates are running for. And I learned this from talking to Philip, and see what it is that they're pushing for that you can get with. Right. Not necessarily in an order, but what is it that they can push for? What is it that they're running on? Are you okay with 60% of what they're running on? Are you okay with, one person got 20%, the other person got 40%. So you kind of got to go with who's doing the most for what you think you'll like, because nobody's going to do everything, and we're going to always find a reason to be unhappy, which I think is the number 1 through 5 reasons that neither one of us 3 will ever run. Because the level of disappointment and the shit you got to take from people, Philip said it. I don't know. I know a lot of politicians. I know them is they start off as regular people. They had good heart, good consciences. Politics change you. I don't care what nobody say. You can't be true to yourself and stay in politics. You can't be, because if you don't negotiate with people, if you don't reciprocate with things that you don't agree with, you won't get shit done, because nobody will work with you because you standing on your morals and your high ground. And at the end of the day, nobody gives a shit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break again, and we're gonna come back and get into some more stuff. Eamon, keep coming with your questions. So let's do this. Get y'all some adult beverages.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com. Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
All right. Oh, look at that. We back with Star Trek. Hey, so Phil, right now, it looked like you the leading vote getter for write-in for presidential candidate. No. And so right now, we on the field train. And I'm gonna let Joe be the VP. I'm gonna just sit in the background and I'm gonna figure out what I want to do. I think I just want to drive one of the limos. I think that's all I think that's all, the way my ADD set up, I can't stay focused too long. And I'm the one to drink on the job. So I'm gonna get to your question, Amy. Can you guys explain the colors of the state? What the state colors mean? Red, purple, and blue. and why is it important?
Yeah, you want me to go?
Go for it, Phil.
Yeah. Just it's super straightforward. So red is the party of it's the GOP, Republicans. Blue is Democrats, and then purple states are ones that are have more moderate representation. So it's kind of like a heat map for politics. So you know what state kind of leans in what direction based on the color that they are. So when you see, so like on election night, when you're watching CNN and you see all those, you see the guy doing all those, moving all the icons around and saying if this county, you know, if we get Douglas County in, and Douglas County is a red county, that'll turn, I don't know, or make up a state. That'll turn Hamilton State red. You know what I mean? So it's just a way to understand the political leanings of a particular area or state.
Anything to add, big brother?
Well, it's basically a way to allegedly promulgate and adjust for upcoming elections. That's really what it does. Because it's interesting because in the state of Arizona, once you do a deep dive, Arizona was a red state, but if you deep dive into it, you see blue in certain areas. And it turns out those blue areas were Native American tribes that voted big time for Biden. So it's not just what Ms. Hall says, electoral college. It's got some basis, but not totally there. And to her question about gerrymandering, that gerrymandering is done on quite a few levels, and that's another question in and of itself. But I'll get to it at some point.
Okay, so before we get to my deep question, there are several different types of voters, and I'm still learning about. So can you guys talk about the different types of voters? Because some people don't know what they are. I mean, I people throw the words around. Sometimes I think they just like the words, you know. And I'm talking not Democrat or Republican, but like oh shit, I forgot them just that quick.
Liberal, conservative,
independents, liberals.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, liberal, conservatives, and I think I want to say there one or two more.
Moderate.
Okay, yeah.
Moderate.
So what are those, and how will somebody know how they identify for those neutral politics?
You want to take it?
Yeah, the problem is that just like anything else, the terms have been weaponized. A conservative was someone that conserved, hence they were more traditional in their views. Liberals were someone at one time that was more progressive. Each one of those terms have been weaponized to be extremely negative at this point. And at one time, believe it or not, Black folks were extremely conservative. Extremely. To a large extent. The idea of liberalism, again, became a dirty word in the late 60s when you had the Wallaces coming into the game, and when they wanted to stir up the Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats, when they started turning from Democrat to Republican and those type of things. So they actually weaponized the words, but you've got liberals, moderates, conservatives on both sides of the aisle.
Okay. And so is a liberal Democrat and a liberal Republican technically the same thing?
Could be.
Well, if you're a liberal Democrat, typically you're left of center.
Yeah,
like you're left of left. So you might be like the Green Party might. Well, not that's a bad example. So Dr. King, let's say if you contextualize his political sort of analysis, he would be a Democrat based on what he believed. But believing in guaranteed income is not a part of the mainstream sort of like Democrat platform. So he would be a liberal Democrat, right? But you can be a liberal Republican who might believe in something like school choice, but you also are against gay marriage.
Okay. If we use Martin Luther King, because you use that analogy well, and I'm gonna pick two iconic leaders, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. If they were both Democrats, would they be the same type of Democrat? Because as far as I'm concerned, they were two totally different views on how to get something done.
Hold on.
You say no? Okay.
No. Let me say this.
Okay.
If you read King's letter from Birmingham jail, he said the biggest problem for Black folks were the liberal whites.
That's true.
Fact. When Malcolm X was finally murdered 2 years prior to King, there had been a meeting between King and X. And there's a book about how Malcolm is liberal. No, not at all. But again, going back to my train, I've got the book that I'll send to you guys. But it talked about how these two guys had come up with a synergistic plan, if that would be the correct term. And that's probably what got him killed. Because the fact that these two titular heads were beginning to organize and put together a true party is what scared, because even in some of J. Edgar Hoover's writing, he talks about how the government was scared of a King and Malcolm X getting together and some of the other writings. So that's what people need to really look at. What would they be today? I think they would be the hybrid of the Democrat and Republican Party. What it would be called, I'm not sure. But to say that they're a liberal is a stretch, because King was, if you read his works, King was not really for integration. He said we need to work with them. He didn't say live with them. He said work with them.
Yeah, so it's tricky because they were both men of the cloth, right? So their social views, their moral compass being based in their faith would, from my estimation, make them a little bit more conservative than we kind of give them credit for, particularly Malcolm X, because we think white man is the devil. That's left, but he also believed in very traditional. I don't know if many women could be Malcolm X's wife. I'll put it that way. Not many.
Betty Shabazz was a monster. You're right. No, you're right.
Right. So if we look at it, if we were to look at it through that lens, they would lean conservative. And even King, to a large extent, was more. He was socially conservative, but he was economically liberal. So when we get into things like guaranteed income, the Poor People's Campaign, moving from civil rights to silver rights, that's when we start to see King's left politics being anti-war. All those things are leftist. He would be, from where I sit, if I were to analyze King and contextualize him from today, I would say he would be a socialist. I don't know if.
Oh my God.
I'm not. Here's the thing: you can look at a lot of the platform of the Green Party, and it's pretty aligned. I would say more aligned with what King believed in than your status quo Democrats. Democrats actually have to be drugged to the left. That's why Bernie Sanders was so critical. He was critically important because he was really coming with these quote unquote leftist ideas. It's really like fair stuff, like raise the minimum wage, cancel student loan debt, like not radical stuff really, but compared to what the Democrats were on, radical stuff. And so now we see Democrats having where student loan debt is just kind of like, it's something that they know they need to do something about. Now, will it happen? I'm not sure, but that wouldn't have occurred had we not had somebody who was socialist leaning as a formidable opponent, a formidable threat to the Democratic power structure. Now, from the conservative side, Trump is actually not a conservative. He's actually a liberal. Socially, he's a liberal, and we could just look at his life. Trump is more liberal than Malcolm and Martin ever were. He does not believe that you should not. He's been remarried 3 times. He's been critical of abortion before he became president. He was for abortion rather. He is a capitalist. Like, this guy is, he's Wall Street kind of embodied when you really think about it. So there are these very one thing that Trump has done is he's caused a schism in the conservative ideology, because now we're talking about personality politics overriding the platform, like the things that the party stands for. And so we don't get a chance to, conservatives don't really own the morality conversation anymore because of Trump, because he's done everything he's done has been antithetical to that silent majority, the Christian right, the TBN crowd, basically. The TBN crowd, they would be so incredibly unforgiving of Obama if he was married 3 times and had 5 kids by 3 women. Yet somehow that is in play. So he would be, Malcolm would look at Trump as being a man of very low moral character, simply because of his views on marriage and on women, on how to just organize your personal life, how to live out your personal life. So it's interesting because a lot of times I hear a lot of, it used to be a time where like conservatives would take King and turn him into and reduce him to this like colorblind mascot, right? But now we hear a lot of people from our community take Malcolm and they twist his words and his thinking and make it seem like Malcolm would be okay with a lot of stuff that he would not be okay with. Like and this is another topic for another day. But when we talk about stuff like Malcolm, so Malcolm's views on gender roles are very traditional, right? But I looked at Meg Thee Stallion when she got on television and after the incident, and she quoted Malcolm X, and she was using that to tie in this idea of Black women being the most disrespected group in America. That is true, right? But Malcolm would scold her though, based on his views of gender roles. Like I said, most women could not be married to Malcolm X. You have a better shot being married to Trump than Malcolm X. If you were a sexually liberated woman, would be better suited under being married to Trump than she would Malcolm X. So we have kind of remixed both of their legacies in ways that fit wherever we fall along the political spectrum. But if we really were to take a kind of bare bones look at where they are, where they were, what they stood for, we might be a little surprised at how much they would disagree with what's currently happening in liberal circles.
So I see the little orbit thing above your head, brother. I see the little orbit thing above your head.
Half of that, I do not agree with. I mean, again, in their later life of X and King, true, they were more conservative. There's no question about that. As far as liberal tendencies, again, if you read King's letter from Birmingham jail and a few other of his manuscripts, when he talks about integration, when he talks about redlining, really a conservative view. It wasn't liberal. The only liberal part was that he said we should be able to have access to monies like anyone else. So if that's a liberal, then I'll take that. When the two of them started, and here's the real crux of that. What terrified our column or our government was the fact that here are two guys that represented, again, to your point, the fighting wing of Black folks, X, and the intellectual wing of Black folks, King. Both are still, I'm not taking any one level of intelligence from either, but the combination of the two terrified this government to the point where they had to kill him. And let me further add to that. You then see the murder of Mark Clark and Fred Hampton, which is an offshoot of the murders of King and X. Because what they did was they took the liberal policies. If you look at the when Reagan put the Munford Act into place in California, it's because them Negroes started carrying guns and took them to the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
So now we start going back and we start looking at these ideologies. You'll see where they're aligned, where what the astrologers call the planets aligning, and they couldn't have that. And that's where you have the assassination of all these particular people.
So where are we disagreeing on? Like, what's the?
I think I think when you said that King was a liberal, I just can't agree with that.
Well,
or no, Donald Trump was a liberal. That I mean, you got me there, son. You got me there.
Look, if we are to look at how conservatives, like if we were to put together a conservative candidate,
mm-hmm.
Donald Trump does not. There's a reason that Mitt Romney and Donald Trump would not be easily associated, right?
Let me ask
Romney
you this.
is. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this though, Phil. Would this be because? And let me just. It's going to sound crazy. Does Donald Trump get the moniker of being liberal, conservative, based on skin color? A lot of stuff he's getting away with is because of white privilege.
That's true.
I mean, if any one of us on this board tried any of the crap that this guy's been doing, he'd be in jail.
Well, I think liberal, or so it's from a racial standpoint. I think liberal is the N word for white people, for white conservatives. So white conservatives call white liberals. That's the most derogatory thing a white conservative can call another white person is liberal or poor. But in terms of what how the GOP has cornered the market on American values and this time when we were, just traditional. Everybody had a white picket fence and, boy meets girl,
make America great again.
Yeah, all of those things. Trump really is why Southerners don't like Yankees. He's a carpetbagger. This man came from New York and spewed after doing all of his stuff, living a life of extreme, ostentatious
debauchery.
Yes, debauchery. And then he has the nerve to come to the South and change his entire message up and fool these conservatives who are nowhere near that financially. They're nowhere near this man. Socially, they're nowhere near this man. And somehow he was able to fool them into thinking that he was one of them. But Trump, this is the guy who said 2 Corinthians. I have more in common with white Southerners than Trump does. So it's really, I mean, he's if we were to just kind of isolate Trump is like OJ. It's a compelling American story, right? It's just like, how did this guy become who he became? Like, how did he pull the biggest rows in American history? Like he didn't have to run for any lower offices. He didn't have to believe what everybody else believed. He just had to be a rich white man who spoke his mind and who lied to you honestly. If that's not America, if that's not like anyway, I'm going off a little bit, but
I got to reply to that, but I'll wait.
Go ahead.
No, let's go.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and run a little bit left. Based on the Constitution as you guys understand, and based on the political climate as it is right now on August the 30th, 2023. It's a two-part question, and I know I already said Joel for the first part. First, the 14th Amendment, and what do we have to do? Because I'm sure the founders never thought that we'd have a president like we got today. Oh, let me rephrase that. One, do y'all think Trump will go to jail? Let me just ask that. That's a yes or no.
No.
Joe?
Do I think he'll go to jail?
Because I know you a Fanny fan. I know you a Fanny fan, and she ain't going for probation.
No. No. I think that, see, that's a tricky question. I think that if you watch his actions and you understand how the legal world works, in my humble opinion, I think he's because the lawyer he picked up in Atlanta is YSL's lawyer who got him a plea deal. So in my feeble mind, I think he's doing what he can to cut a deal where he won't touch prison.
Mm.
Now, that's what I think is the angle is. And I think he's setting himself up, to go and plead. Listen, because I don't know if you all have seen it, but at least in Chicago, there in Illinois, I think we've had the most governors go to jail. We've had the most council members go to jail. So they got a new way of stealing, right? But the fact of the matter is a lot of these guys cut these deals with the feds right before election. And you'll notice, if you think I'm wrong, I want you to go take a look at it. The feds hit right around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Why? To this day, I've asked them and nobody will give me a concrete answer. But I think that's what these guys are angling for, just based on my past experience. Do I think he'll go to jail? No. Do I want him to? Well, that's another question in itself. But I think he's angling for a plea deal.
So how does the 14th Amendment affect him and what's going on right now?
14th Amendment. It actually took 2 years for it to pass. It came up in 1864, ratified in 1866. But it's not just the 14th Amendment. It's Section 3, which deals with insurrection and rebellion. And that's the amendment. They tried to get him on under the first impeachment. They wanted to invoke another amendment to this under emergency, so people don't get confused. Remember when Trump they were trying to invoke the 25th, Article 25. And what it said was that if wasn't the board, but if his cabinet voted to remove him, they could do it. Right. His whole cabinet resigned. So they couldn't be put into it. Now, that being said, again, under the Section 3, the third sentence, no person shall be senator, whatever, shall engage in insurrection or rebellion against the Constitution of the United States. So that's where you are.
Okay. So, because I know, and I want to say it was Ohio somewhere, they took somebody off the ballot because of a conviction.
Yes.
That ran something like that, and they were
Ohio.
talking about doing the same. Okay, because I remember reading that story, and they used his conviction about subverting the Constitution or something to that effect. I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, if finally gets him convicted, even if he takes a plea deal and does probation, would that effectively eliminate him from being the candidate?
Allegedly.
Philip, what's your thoughts?
I never underestimate
Power of a schnook.
Power of a white man in this country. A group of white men who want to get something done will make sure. I mean, they're already talking about the Republicans in our state, or in Georgia, already talking about ways to get funding out of office. Like it's not. They will do whatever to make sure that who they want to represent their interest is put in place. So to that extent, these are such extraordinary times. It's hard to apply what we know to be kind of customary to this situation. It's just it.
Yeah, because
so I want to lean towards white male privilege in this.
Well, let me say something to what Phil just said, and it's very important we understand this. When the Supreme Court goes and allegedly makes a ruling, they use this thing called stare decisis. Stare decisis says that based on previous, we're going to base our opinion on. Clarence Thomas said in his vote to overturn Roe v. Wade, he was not going to use stare decisis. So to your point, Phil, when these groups get together and they decide that they're not going to do something, they do it.
And for those out that don't know, here in Georgia, from what I gathered, it was a closed door meeting where they enacted the law where it says the governor can remove a prosecutor if they think she's doing a bad job, even though she's an elected official. They don't really need anything. And the way it's set up, it's cute because the governor himself, even though he's the authorizing authority, it goes through a board, and everybody on the board is a Republican. So
what Ron DeSantis did. DeSantis did to a black prosecutor in Florida.
Yeah, and to me it's so insane because it goes back to what Philip was talking about earlier with the Sith and McKinney thing, even with the fake electors. For those of you who know about this, who know about what's going on in Georgia, I forgot her name, but one of the officials got arrested for knocking on the door where they were trying to have these, because she wasn't invited and she wanted to know why they were having a closed door meeting, and they had her arrested because she was at work trying to see what was going on while they were taking a vote, but no Democrats were involved. And, it goes to say how many crazy things go on. And this is, ain't none of us that old, even though I joke about it. We don't know what the founders were originally thinking, but I'm sure they didn't think nothing like this would be happening. Me and Joe talked earlier, if you understand the system and the way it's been, so many people have flip-flopped that realistically, it was Republicans who freed the slave. That's who Abraham Lincoln was. But those Republicans today would be Democrats if you understand the flip of the system.
Right.
And that's why you always hear Trump love to refer to himself as the greatest Republican president ever. He's did more for blacks than Lincoln.
Yeah, and then
so that was a totally different concept, and it's BS. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah. For anybody who just knows somebody who trumpets that ahistorical narrative, we also can't get around the fact that the Lincoln Republicans also did what was called the Lily White movement. So the Lily White movement was not a campaign. It was messaging around what the Republican Party stood for, because the Republican Party was becoming too favorable to free blacks. And so the Lily White movement lasted about, I want to say 20 or 30 years after Reconstruction was over with. And so even though the Republicans freed the slaves, sure, they freed the slaves, and then Lincoln also said the slaves were not equal to white people, but that we were not equal. Then he also advocated for us to be expatriated to Liberia.
Yes.
Okay, whatever. But all that being said, the Republican Party, even let's say they never changed, they still have a history of trying to exclude black people from the democratic process, and in very aggressive ways. I mean, we can look at America's or that party's refusal to pass a lynching act. When we look at how the NAACP was founded and what the main kind of objective was of the time, it was to stop lynching. So where were the Republicans then? And I hate when people I hate to hear. You always hear people make these arguments when they're trying to critique the Democratic Party today. They make these ahistorical arguments that can be easily refuted with a simple Google search. So for anybody that's out there who knows somebody who does that kind of stuff, who says, well, the Democrats had the Klan. Yeah, well, Republicans had the Lily White movement too. So
let's be clear.
Okay.
The forerunner to the Klan were who, but also if you read Forced into Glory, Lincoln said in his own words that he was repulsed at the idea of having, if he didn't have to do it, he wouldn't have done it.
Come on.
I mean, it's in the book.
Right.
So,
and ladies and gentlemen, this is why you have to talk to more people, because we've regurgitated bad information after bad information, and some of us stand 10 toes down in it. And a lot of things are easy to check. You know, like I said, I feel for a lot of stuff. Google's around. You can just Google so many things now and look at some of the sub articles. And it's amazing how today, with everybody who claim they want honesty, how we run from it if it ain't our honesty. Right. I don't want Philip. I want mine. So no. You can't tell me this is a bad person. No, and Philip knows I got a Facebook friend who loves to argue politics with me, and most of his arguments are so at their base dumb because he blames Biden for everything. And of course, I'm not a Biden fan. I made posts about it. I'm not a Biden fan. But if my only choice is Biden and Trump, then I'm picking Biden every single day, 2, 3, 4, 27,000 times. I would never, ever pick Trump, ever. Trump could be run against my most hated enemy, and he just ain't going to get it. I think I picked the Grand Dragon before I picked Trump. He shows me nothing. And like I said, being former military, where my allegiance is to the Constitution. When you go against the Constitution like he has, and then you go against black people like he has, I'm sure y'all saw his argument about why his trial should be changed, and he brought up the black kids that were accused of rape. It's like, dude, you're the same one who said the Central Park 5 should be killed after they got overturned. And it's like, oh, he did this. And, I was arguing with a guy at work the other day, and he was bringing up, Trump's contribution to HBCUs. And I said, read it. They can't teach CRT, so nobody got it. Nobody. It looks good on paper, but not now, because for you to take that, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, for you to take that money that he was giving, you had to turn your HBCU into a primarily white institution because you couldn't teach nothing black. You couldn't say nothing bad about, and I ain't saying all white people are bad, but you can't say nothing about slavery or none of the history. It was crazy to me how people, he was trying to help black people, and y'all base all this on a $2,000 stimulus check that he didn't give you. Right. He didn't give it to you. So, Phil, Mo, help me out.
Well, yeah, you're right. Let me just, Ari Hightower said, carefully choose your source after using Google. Yes, use multiple sources. Right. And the fact is that now that we've got this thing called the internet, there's no reason that we should be as beaten up as we are. And more to the point, we talk about Lincoln was as racist as the rest of them, if not more so.
The baddest white man that ever lived was John Brown, and you can ask 20 white people if they know him, and 21 gonna say no. So if America was as interested in liberating black folk as it says it is across both aisles, then John Brown would have his face printed on every dollar bill in America. That alone. That's why when I have conversations with among us about how we should move politically, the first and only priority has to be our people. Because both parties have betrayed us in very egregious ways, and then the other side of that for our allies, there are some real not just well-intentioned but white people who have done the work. Not enough to celebrate all of them, but enough to say this: what's good for black people is good for the country. whenever the least of these can have their basic needs met, everyone else is going to flourish, which is why I am for a progressive Black female president, because I know that if a Black female president can representing all of the interests of Black females across the country, if the most disrespected group, the least resource group in America, can have a sense of power, can have resources, can have a feeling of advancement and an actual realization of advancement, then everybody else is going to win. And neither Republicans nor Democrats have gotten behind the least of these in a way that keeps our community intact, by the way, because there's a whole other critique for that, right? But they have not gotten behind the least of these that keeps our to advance their interest. So I can't listen to what's good for Republicans or what's good for Democrats. I got to start with what's good for my people. If you ain't rich, you shouldn't be voting Republican. The only reason I give Kanye a pass is because he's rich. He's filthy rich. And even then, it doesn't make sense, right? Because you don't have the power. You'll never be able to switch out skin. So you will be immediately neutralized based on just the color of your skin. So really, you have a business voting Republican anyway. But then there is a critique for Democrats, and the fact that they do not they don't do an effective job because they don't really want to do it of holding of keeping their promises and of upping the ante. So you know what the issue is because you sit in these circles all day long and you listen to Black folks cry and do all kinds of stuff genuinely because we're hurting in this country. You know what's happening. You're in these academic halls. You know the issues better than a lot of Black people do. And yet when you go out and you get ready to support somebody, you support the most milquetoast candidate, i.e. Biden, that we could possibly have, who will do nothing to alleviate the pain of Black folks. So for me, you got to be Black first and Black only. That your political, as if you are Black, you need to be Black first and Black only. And here's the thing: there is space at the table for Black conservatives. There is space at the table. I want my conservative grandmama at the table. Do I want Candace Owens at the table? No, I don't. No. My conservative grandma is not going to pretend like racism doesn't exist. But my conservative grandma would tell me, boy, pull your pants up. Boy, marry that girl. So I want that at the table. So we need to reimagine what it means to be a Black voter in this country. And it needs to be separate from anything that blue and red is doing. And we will impact the same way the Hispanics in the 2004 election, when just a few of them, enough of them rather, went Republican, and the Republican Party had to start to cater more to the Hispanic community. If just a few of us decided, you know what, this time I'm gonna go a little right, knowing full well that we're gonna be the spook that's set by the door. We're not gonna get there and turn into Kanye or turn into Candace Owens. We're gonna get there and be the pull your pants up, but I'm not gonna send you to jail Black person. Marry that girl, but by all means, you need to lower every barrier to the ballot that exists. We need those kind of Black folks making that switch over to the Republican Party, so that we can get so they can fear the Black vote. They do not fear the Black vote. And Obama's presidency was the first time in American history where Black folks in tandem, in concert rather, decided to be uncritical of the highest, most powerful seat in America. It was the first time. That 8-year stretch was the first time we decided to be quiet and not be critical of a president, not realizing that the office itself, the office of presidency itself, is the office of an oppressor. It's the office of an oppressor, so you have to be critical of it. And no, I don't want to hear he's not president of Black America, because he was president of gay America. He was president of Hispanic America. He was president of immigrant America. So yes, you are also president of Black America. And when I want something that is exclusively for Black folk, you need to be just as eager to have my needs met as you have everybody else, and that goes for Republicans too. So that's my
look, hey man, I'm with you on that. But let me really throw a wrench in this conversation. We talk about the presidency. That ain't the most powerful position. Now, let's talk about some real stomp down, get down, party planning shit. We need to be taking them Senate spots. Because let me explain this to you. The House legislates, the Senate dictates. Listen very well. Listen again. The House legislates, the Senate dictates. The Congress of the United States, the House of Representatives has over 450 members, I believe. The United States Senate has 100. Think about that. Now, when we talk about power, we overlook the real power because the Senate can override a presidential anything, and they do. But because we keep getting slapped, we said something earlier. Phil, you said something in DVP. All elections are local. Where do the senators come from? Local elections, state elections. See, the baddest man in town is not necessarily the president or the VP or the Joint Chiefs. It's the United States Senator. We just had an election and we slept right through it. Half the Senate was up last year. Black folks slept it. Why? Because we were out here talking about all this other BS. And we went right past it. We had a chance to turn the corner. I don't need the presidency. I don't care. I didn't give a shit if Barack was pink. If I had the Senate, I could turn him in. He'd do any and everything I told him to do. Why do you think they keep Moscow Mitch in there? Because Mitch knows the game. Because those senators, in turn, make the congressman. So now, you know, if we look at this on a gang level, let's just break it down a little bit further.
Right.
You know, there it is. So if my gang, I got 100 mofos with guns, you got 400 with sticks, I'm winning.
Right. All the time.
That's the best allegory I got. But the fact remains, you know, we slept it. These off-year presidential, we should be knocking boots. We should be knocking fire from the midterms. And that's where the Republicans get us, because that's where they concentrate. The Democrats are feckless. And I'm telling you now, they're going to give the White House back to Republicans. And I'll step back.
And I think this is what we don't understand. And Philip said it, Joe explained it for idiots. If we don't do better at local elections, no president is effective if the Senate and the Congress is against him. And we never got that. You know, for all Obama did, right and wrong, a lot of things that he couldn't do is simply because of Lindsey and the other dude. They weren't going to let him do nothing because we never gave him something to work with. The reason, what did Lindsey Graham say why Obama couldn't appoint Supreme Court? Oh, we're gonna let the people vote because you on your way out. But then when Trump was on, we're gonna get yours through. See, if you don't get that cooperation, and we didn't understand, and that's one of the things I had to learn about politics, is because we don't understand. You know, you vote for the president, you vote for the mayor, and you think you're done. These regional elections for the bulk of us mean way more than that national election. Because this is what happens in our hometown. This affects our schools, our streets, our way of living. And that's why people say, oh, well, you know, the president didn't help this person, the president didn't help this city, this country. Know what it says. If the governor doesn't ask for help, the president can't just give it. That ain't his job. He's got to wait till he's asked to get federal help. That's just the system. Oh, he helped them, he helped so-and-so. Well, did your governor ask? Well, he shouldn't have to ask. He's the president of the United States. And it's like, see, you don't understand the office. And I think our ignorance puts us in a worse position because we keep giving power to the wrong people. And it's like I say, when people, I was a cop. Philip was he was in politics. if you want to know why so and so is in jail, ask a cop. Don't bitch the Pookie and Ray Ray and let them tell you street knowledge. Ask me. When you want to know politics, you know what I did? I reached out and asked Philip. I said, Philip, I'm doing a show on politics. Can I get you, my brother? Joe, I'm doing a show on politics. I don't need to be talking to people about things that I think or don't really know. I might as well get somebody who can explain it to me. And my feelings don't matter. I'm being educated, and this is what we got to do. We got to stop waiting for that 4-year thing to try to catch up. Every 2 years, you need to be voting. And if you don't know what's going on, like it or not, talk to people. Listen to what they're saying. I understand why some people are Republicans. I truly do. It don't work for me because I ain't rich. But I understand. I got a couple of friends who are multimillionaires. I understand why they went for what Trump was doing. If we're honest, he had some decent policies. It is the person who wasn't shit. He was not presidential. It's kind of like having a girlfriend. We all want a cute girlfriend / wife. We don't want her to be on all the porn star movies. This, and there are some cute porn stars, but we don't want her as a wife. Trump was a porn star
and was with a porn star. Yeah. And we can never get
so so this is why we have to do stuff. I got 8 minutes. I got to do something else, but quickly, because I don't want to get in trouble. Who would Cornel West hurt more, Trump or Biden?
Biden. There's no question in my mind.
Great question.
That's
a great question. I say Trump.
History proves that the Green Party, in the last couple of elections anyway, where they had a viable candidate, they pulled primarily from Democratic votes.
They pulled from, yes, that is true.
Thank you.
But when we talk about, first of all, Cornel West is not just like a dark horse, right? Like he has a brand, he has a legacy, he has a voice, he has a platform. Cornel West, and even though Bernie ran under the Democratic ticket, but not really. I mean, he was challenging it. To me, Cornel West is a legitimate Bernie Sanders in terms of like his ability to steer discussions about poverty in America and about closing the wealth gap. I think the more candidates that are really going to speak to the issues that are affecting working class people, the working poor, the underemployed, and the unemployed, the better the Democratic Party would be from a platform standpoint. I don't think that Cornel West, because he has so much liberal baggage, yes, I don't think he's going to make enough of a wave to hurt Joe Biden. But I do think because his platform is as big as it is and his voice rings as loud as it does, he will be able to freshen that conversation up a little bit. And like I led with the age thing with Biden. Honestly, it's not that Biden is old; it's that Biden's politics are older than Biden. And so when you look at Cornel West, who's about 70 years old, his politics are 35 years old. His politics speak to what is happening in this country. Biden's politics, there's a reason Biden was against busing. Like this guy is as evolved as a white man is gonna be from where he started. So I think that Cornel West can come along and make and liven. We got some leftovers here. So now he gonna warm it up and add a little sauce to it.
Look, man, George Wallace changed stripes too. So what? I mean, so I get it. I understand your point, but I'll say this. If Democrats had any sense, they take the Green Party and adopt them into the plank. Now, if you talk about some strategies, that's where strategy would come in, at least in my mind, in my little feeble mind. Now we talk about it. You want to play some hardball, man, that would throw the game into a whole new flux.
And there's precedence for it, right? So we can look at how the Black Panther Party and its influence on the Democratic Party, even having like Watts riots and Detroit
Chicago
riots,
riots. The Democratic riots in '68.
Absolutely. So we know that radical Black politics is good for status quo Democrats. So which is why I say the more radical without being hyperbolic. Like don't come in, and that's where the maturity of a Cornel West will help the Democratic Party, because he has such a professorial kind of posture that you got to take this man seriously, and he can move the discussion in ways that a perhaps more younger, more charismatic candidate can't. I'm not interested in Cornel West becoming president. I'm interested in his policies being adopted by a president.
But again, you're looking at a classically trained educator versus a classically trained lawyer. So in those two schools of thought, the training and the directions are totally different. I mean, it's sure. Aristotle and Socrates also said the same thing, but two different schools of thought, but they were talking about the same thing.
Sure.
In fact, I think Socrates was a student of Aristotle. But
yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I want to thank y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put both their names in my comment section because I know y'all want to follow them. I don't think Philip talks a whole lot about politics on his page, but we're going to get him to do a little bit more.
Don't go on my page, y'all. It ain't.
Yeah.
It's not
I'm loading it up. I'm sending you a friend request right now, man.
Follow me on IG. Follow me on IG. Don't follow me on my Facebook page.
But what I will do is I will get more politics in before the election so we can become more up to speed. I will make sure I do that. And Philip said his wins are free now, and Joe is already harassing me, so he's good. So with that being said, I want to thank you, fellas. But I got to get into this. I got to get into this ad so I don't get in trouble. So what we're gonna talk about are the melodic getaways. We have an 8-day, 2-country, 3-destination trip coming up. The trip highlights: take the trip of a lifetime on board a luxurious Venus Sempion Orient Express to Venice. Enjoy the high-speed train travel between Venice and Rome. Discover Parisian romance in the French capital city. Explore the plethora of museums, historic squares, and iconic attractions of Venice and Rome. To do this, join the group Melodic Getaways, or my producer's gonna put her email address in there. If you're interested in this trip or any trip, email her, tell her where you want to go, and she will get some things done for you. This is something that we all need to start doing. We need to take time to get away and enjoy what we got. Ain't no need to keep dying rich. Go ahead and enjoy it while you're young. Take a trip somewhere. Start saving up and go. We got to learn that there's more to life than just America. We got to learn that there's more to life than just Vegas or Florida or wherever it is we always go here. Ain't nothing wrong with a little travel. So I want to thank my super duper dope producer and everything she's trying to do with getting us involved in travel as we expand our horizons. I want to especially thank Joe and Philip for coming on. We're going to make them write-in candidates for president and secretary of state. We're going to do what we got to do, but we got to stay educated. Even if we don't like what we're being told, we got to stay educated. Sometimes you got to talk to other people just to see the other side. If you don't know what's on the other side, you don't know what you're up against. And this is what we have to do. Everybody uses social media for different reasons. Some people do it just to keep up with family, whatever. But we control the narrative. We control our own pages. We can talk about things we want to. We don't have to follow what the system says. We don't have to follow the algorithm. We can talk and educate each other as much as we want to. We can do that. It's in our hands. That don't belong to nobody else. We can't keep giving our power away when it's there for us. Philip and Joe have both talked about it. There are things that we can do to uplift each other, to educate each other, even have fun while we're doing it. Ari's got a great thing going. She talks about a lot of stuff. Don't be afraid of change. Sometimes change is a good thing. Sometimes change is a good thing. This is, at my JBN, we're unapologetically Black without being racist. We just want people to know. We deal on a regular basis in accountability and responsibility. If you don't vote, know why. to me, it's disrespectful. But if you don't want to vote, hey, I can't tell you what to do. But if you don't vote, STFU. Have a frosty mug of it. All right, so this is Random Thoughts with DVP, my JBN. I want to say have a good night and thank you for joining me. Peace, popcorn, and chicken grease, and we out. Did everybody leave?